I still remember the exact sound. 3 knocks. Slow, deliberate, almost hesitant, the kind of knock that makes you freeze before you even reach the door. It was 11:47 p.m. on a cold November night. I wasn't expecting anyone. My nearest neighbor lived half a mile away, and nobody visited without calling first. I walked to the door, looked through the peephole, and my heart stopped. Standing on my porch was my ex-wife, the woman who had destroyed my life 5 years earlier. The woman who vanished with another man and never looked back. At least, that's what I believed. She looked older, tired, terrified, and when our eyes met through the glass, I saw something I'd never seen in her before. Fear. Real fear. I opened the door. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered 4 words that changed everything. "He's finally found me." And before I could ask what she meant, she collapsed. 5 years earlier, my life had been ordinary. Not perfect, but ordinary. I was 34, working as an accountant, living in a quiet suburb, married to a woman I thought I knew better than anyone. Her name was Emily. We had been together for 9 years, married for 6. We had routines, inside jokes, weekend traditions, the kind of life that feels stable enough to last forever. Or so I thought. The first sign appeared on a Tuesday. Emily started guarding her phone. At first, I ignored it. Everyone deserves privacy. But privacy slowly became secrecy. Texts disappeared. Phone calls ended when I entered a room. Late-night smiles appeared on her face while staring at messages she refused to explain. I knew something was wrong. I just wasn't ready to admit what. Then one evening, she sat me down at the kitchen table. No tears. No hesitation. No guilt. Just cold certainty. She told me she'd met someone else. And she was leaving. Just like that. 9 years together reduced to a 10-minute conversation. I remember staring at her, waiting for the punchline. Waiting for her to say she was confused. Waiting for her to cry. She never did. She simply stood up, packed 2 suitcases, and walked out the front door. The next morning, she was gone. So was nearly half of our savings. And the man she'd left with? A wealthy entrepreneur named Daniel Mercer. At least, that's who he claimed to be. The divorce was brutal. Emily fought for everything. The house, the assets, even things she never cared about before. I barely recognized her. The woman I loved had transformed into a stranger. When everything was finalized, she disappeared completely. No messages, no calls, no apologies, nothing. For 5 years. Meanwhile, I rebuilt my life. Slowly, painfully, one piece at a time. I sold the house, moved to a smaller town, started over. Eventually, the anger faded, then the sadness, then even the memories began losing their sharp edges. Emily became a chapter. Not the whole story, at least until that night. The night she appeared on my doorstep. When Emily regained consciousness, she was sitting on my couch with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She looked around nervously, as if expecting someone to burst through the walls. I asked the obvious question. "What do you mean he found you?" Her hands trembled. Then she said something that made no sense. "Daniel isn't who he said he was." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because after everything she'd done, I couldn't believe she expected sympathy. But Emily wasn't joking. She looked genuinely terrified. She explained that after leaving me, she'd moved into Daniel's luxurious estate. At first, everything seemed perfect. Private vacations, expensive gifts, a lifestyle beyond anything she'd imagined. It felt like a dream. Then the dream started cracking. Daniel controlled everything. Who she spoke to, where she went, what she wore, every detail of her life. At first, it seemed possessive. Then it became something darker, something dangerous. Whenever she questioned him, he became angry. Not loud, not violent, just cold. The kind of coldness that makes your blood run ice. Eventually, Emily discovered something disturbing. Daniel's business empire was mostly fake. The companies existed, but they weren't making money legally. They were laundering money through shell corporations connected to criminal organizations. When Emily confronted him, his response chilled her. He smiled and told her she already knew too much. For the next 3 years, she lived like a prisoner. Not behind bars, but trapped, watched constantly, monitored, controlled. Every attempt to leave failed. Daniel always seemed to know exactly where she was, exactly who she contacted, exactly what she planned. Then one day, she discovered why. Hidden inside her car was a tracking device. There were others too. Inside her phone, her laptop, even her luggage. Daniel wasn't just watching her. He was hunting her. Every day, every hour, every minute, waiting for her to run. Because he enjoyed chasing people who thought they could escape. Finally, 2 years earlier, Emily managed to disappear. She stole cash, abandoned her phone, changed her identity, and vanished. At least she thought she had. For 2 years, she moved from city to city, never staying anywhere longer than a few weeks, looking over her shoulder constantly, living in fear. Then 3 days before she arrived at my house, she saw him, standing across the street, watching, smiling. Daniel had found her again. As Emily told her story, I struggled to believe it. Part of me thought it was an elaborate lie. Another part wondered why anyone would invent something so terrifying. Then she reached into her bag and handed me a flash drive. This is why he's looking for me. Inside the drive were thousands of documents, financial records, account numbers, names, transactions, evidence. Enough evidence to destroy powerful people. People who would do anything to keep those secrets buried. Emily had stolen them before escaping. Daniel wanted them back, at any cost. And now, somehow, she had led the danger directly to my front door. I should have told her to leave. I should have called the police immediately. I should have walked away. But I didn't. Because despite everything she'd done, I could see genuine terror in her eyes. And terror is hard to fake. So I agreed to help. Just until morning. That decision nearly got me killed. At 2:13 a.m., the power went out. The entire house went dark. Emily's face turned white. He found me. Before I could respond, headlights appeared outside. Then another vehicle. And another. 3 black SUVs stopped near the property. Nobody got out. They just sat there, waiting, watching, like predators surrounding wounded prey. My pulse hammered. This wasn't imagination anymore. Someone was really out there. And whoever they were, they weren't hiding. They wanted us to know. We called the police. By the time officers arrived 20 minutes later, the vehicles were gone. Vanished. Like ghosts. The police searched the area. Found nothing. But one officer pulled me aside before leaving. He asked an unsettling question. Do you know who Daniel Mercer is? I said yes. The officer shook his head. No, you don't. Then he explained something disturbing. Daniel Mercer wasn't his real name. The identity was fabricated. His actual background remained unknown. Several federal investigations had targeted him over the years. Every single one collapsed mysteriously. Witnesses disappeared. Evidence vanished. Cases fell apart. Nobody could ever prove anything. And nobody who testified against him stayed safe for long. The next morning, I made a choice. We took the flash drive directly to federal authorities. Not local police. Not lawyers. Federal investigators. Within hours, everything changed. Protective custody. Interviews. Security details. Questions that lasted for days. The evidence Emily carried turned out to be even bigger than she realized. It connected influential businessmen, corrupt officials, and organized crime networks operating across multiple states. The investigation exploded. Raids followed. Arrests followed. Then headlines. For months, the story dominated national news. And Daniel, he disappeared. Again. Nobody could find him. Some believed he'd fled the country. Others believed he'd been eliminated by his own associates. Officially, his whereabouts remain unknown to this day. People often ask me if Emily and I got back together. The answer is no. Some wounds don't heal that way. Trust, once shattered, never returns exactly as it was. But over time, something unexpected happened. Forgiveness, not reconciliation, not romance, just forgiveness. I eventually understood that the woman who left me had spent years trapped inside a nightmare of her own making. She betrayed me. That's true. But she paid a price far greater than she ever imagined. Today we speak occasionally. Nothing more. Two people connected by a past neither can escape. And every now and then, when I hear a knock late at night, I remember that November evening. 3 slow knocks. A face from the past. And 4 words that revealed a secret far darker than betrayal. He's finally found me. The strange part, Daniel Mercer was never officially captured. No body was found. No arrest was made. No final answers were given. Which means somewhere out there, maybe in another city, maybe under another name, maybe watching from the shadows, the man who destroyed countless lives could still be waiting. Patiently, silently, for the people who know too much. And if that's true, then perhaps Emily wasn't the only one he found. Perhaps he was never chasing her at all. Perhaps he was following the evidence, and he knew exactly where it would eventually lead. To me, the end.